And the number one question is, what's going to happen to the interest rate when the recession is coming? All right, guys, today is going to be our July and August monthly update on what's happening to the marketplace. I have Kavita, my sales manager, here, and we're going to kind of walk you through what's happening in the industry right now, because we get a lot of questions, right, Kavita? What's happening? What's
Oh
happening
yeah,
to the mortgage rate, the recession, and so on and so forth.
I get asked that more than how are you doing today nowadays.
So we're gonna go ahead and shed some light to you guys, so that way you have a complete understanding, and the data that we have collected that is out there that's already backed up. You'll see that on the very bottom. And the number one question is, what's gonna happen to the interest rate when the recession is coming? So quickly, we're gonna talk about, if you see the recession bars were in the gray lines in, 1980s to 1962 to 1991, 2000, then again the big crash in 2008, and now people are talking about 2020, the recession, right? What's going to happen to the interest rate? Now, in this diagram, you can see that the interest rate actually have increased, then they have what? Decreased, right, Kavita?
Yep, absolutely,
So
absolutely. And I
if you
think
start
you go ahead.
if you start from the very left, you can see it was a 16% interest rate. And then right after that, when the Feds kept rising the interest rate, but they actually went down, right? Why would they want to go down?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the supply and demand chain, right? And we know that back in '08, '09, when they started, when we had the actual market crash, right? Initially, the rates were so high up that affordability wasn't there anymore. So the
Mm,
Feds had no choice but to bring stabilization to the market, to start decreasing the rate. So people will have more of an assurance that, hey, you know what? I can afford to buy a house. I can afford to buy my first property. And I think that's sort of like the transition that we're seeing right now. Are we in a recession at the moment? I don't think so. I think where we are is simply, we're seeing the rates are rising up because they're and it's a good thing. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Good thing because it's helping homeowners, whether it's a seller or buyer, not overprice the properties,
hmm And which we
because
have
we
seen right
saw
now.
that. Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, we have seen that where people were overbidding and the buyers didn't have a lot of
Yeah.
choices. So what you're going to
Hmm.
see right now in this diagram is that in 91 it was 11%, and then lowered it down. Now why? Because even if you heard in the news right now, let's land the plane, let's slow the economy down a little bit, right? Let's slow it down. And when they do slow it down, what they want to do, they want to kind of like ignite it again. So in the real
Yeah.
estate industry, a lot of people are saying, is there a recession? Is there a recession? The prices were here, right? People were overbidding. And now, although the interest rate went up a little bit, guess what's happening? Now the prices are
Yep.
stabilizing. The buyers are getting more choices. They're getting their offer accepted
Yep.
at asking price, right? It's not going
Absolutely.
down here.
Either, yeah. I mean, we're still seeing in some pocket neighborhoods, where we're at right now, we're still seeing highest and best. We're still seeing multiple offer situation, but it's not at the level as we were 6 months ago.
Right. Right.
Right, it's very different at this point, and I think now it's more or less about, okay, how qualified is the buyer, right? How strong of a candidate are they? Can they really get this loan approved?
Yep. Yep. But also, if you notice right here in the diagram of 2002 to 2009, you could see the slope going down and down from 18% to always 2009. And that's what people expect. They expect that 3.5% or 3.8% interest rate. Well, guess what?
Mhm.
If you look throughout the whole history, the interest rate has been higher. So where the Feds have put the interest rate is at around 5 or 6%.
Yeah,
And that's the norm. That's if
that's the
you see
norm.
it.
Yeah.
That's the norm. So now what they're gonna do is what we are predicting, and from data, this is all about data again. I don't know what's gonna happen, but just from the data, it's like 11% went to 8.5, 7% went to 6.5, 6% went to 4.5 because they want to
Hmm.
stimulate the economy again. What do you think is gonna happen, Kavita? Like just knowing right
I,
now
I
where
think
that 5 or 6%.
I think where we are right now, which is, I was talking to one of our mortgage lenders earlier today, and he's like, look, he's like, we're in the mid fives, right? Whether you have if you could probably buy it down to like the low fives if you have a really good credit score. And then you're going to be in the high fives if your credit is under 700. So I do think in terms of the next 6 months or maybe 12 months, we're going to be in that range, 5 to 6% for in terms of interest rate. And I think this is going to be our new norm for the next few months.
Yeah, and it might be 1% down. Once they kind of slow the economy down completely,
Yeah.
that they're gonna go ahead and ignite that again and say, hey, let's lower the interest rate. Guess what? The buying power is gonna come,
Yeah.
which is
I
right
mean,
now.
I don't think that the lowering of the interest rate is going to happen at the moment because we know that they already came out earlier this week. The Fed already came out and said, "Hey, we're going to have another rate hike before end of the year," right? So this is your new norm for the next couple of months. You are going to see the rates on the higher end, right? Does that mean it's going to stay like this forever? No. I mean, look, we've looked at the history over here of the last 30 years. What goes up must come back down, and what goes down always bounces back up.
And if you look at the duration of the months when it went up, then went down. So again, I'm not gonna go through this. You guys can visually
Yeah.
see exactly what happened. But 2007 to 2009 took 1.5, or more than 1.5 year, and in 2020 it's been 2 months from 3.5, 3.8 to 2.8. So
Yeah.
again, what we're saying in that history has shown, right? History has shown, this is not a prediction that we're making. This is a fact that's been there, that once the interest rate, when they want to slow the economy down to ignite it again, they're going to lower the interest rate.
Yeah.
Now, don't wait, because what's going to happen? You're going to have too many buyers or too many sellers, again, maybe increasing the price. So right now is still the time to purchase something. Right now is the time to go get the house, because guess what? You have more choices, right? You're still paying
Hmm.
that rental property or whatever you're paying that's out there, or you're making a move or upgrading or downgrading. And
Yeah.
people and sellers are still getting reasonable offers, reasonable asking price, and now the buyer just have more choices. And 5 or 6% interest rate is still good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, let's get to the next one. Let's talk about the inventory. Okay, what's
Yes.
happening?
Let's talk about the inventory.
What's happening with the inventory? I mean, we have seen our inventory grow,
Oh
and
yeah,
keep growing for the last.
absolutely. I mean, I think my daily inbox, I've gone from receiving, one or two notifications of a brand new property coming on the market that's actually available to going through like 5 or 10 a day minimum. And yeah, we are definitely seeing the inventory. We have seen it for the last, I would say, a month to 2 months. It started already, where homes are staying on the market for a little bit longer, and people are going to come back on the market that didn't sell before for whatever reason, or they weren't ready to sell. They're coming back on the market because people do have a need to sell, right? I don't think that's ever going to change, the need to sell and buy. That's not going to change. What's going to change is the time when they do it, right? And we have seen a huge uptick as a buyer agent. My buyers have more options now. Prime example, 2 weeks ago, I showed this buyer two properties. He loved both of them. We made offers on both of them. And he went away for 1 week. If this was literally 6 months ago, I would have been like jumping down his throat and I would have said, no, you're not going on vacation. You need to lock in this deal, right? But guess what? He was away for 1 week, nothing happened, right? We were still communicating, we were still negotiating. 2 weeks later, he ended up going with a third property
Yeah.
that just came on the market
And,
because it was a better choice for him.
yeah. And that's a good case for, like we said, the buyers. The sellers have to understand the
Yes.
competition is fierce right now, right? There's more competition. There's more inventory out there. So I always say to them, their first offer is your best offer, and you want to price it correctly. So make sure that you got an expert on your side that
Mhm.
understands the industry as we move forward. So
Yeah.
what do you think is happening? Like when you speak to a seller, or when we speak to a buyer right now, what is that? What is the analogy that you come up with? And I know that you and I shared this before too, as well. When you see a stop sign, or you don't know what's happening around the corner, right? Because we don't really know what's going to happen. So I always share this to my sellers. Hey, listen, you're going on a highway and all of a sudden you see a police car or you don't know
Yeah.
what's the next turn is going to be. What are you going to really do? You're going to slow it down, right?
Yes.
Before the sellers were like, yes, price it, and then you get multiple
Hmm.
offers. Now you price it. You can't price it over market. You got to price it at market or below market to get.
I highly recommend to everyone, hey, if you're thinking about selling your property or if you're on the market, you need to price it, take the advice and price it slightly below market value. You're
Yeah.
going to get more interest versus overpricing it. You're not going to get any interest,
And
right? And
homes is
even, yeah.
and homes are staying on the
Um,
market for more than one
oh,
month, two
absolutely.
months now.
Absolutely.
Some of them are
Absolutely.
catching up to 3 months now. And the
Oh,
seller's gonna
yeah.
get frustrated. They're gonna get frustrated with who? They're gonna
I
blame who? They're gonna blame the agent.
I
So I
think
don't care
sellers
who
are already
does
getting
it.
frustrated though, right? Because we went through this high roll of, from mid 2020 till now, where homes were barely staying on the market for 10 days, right? Like we went through scenarios where homes will literally come on the market today and they'll have 10 offers within the first 24 hours. So a lot of people are just so used to that and because they've seen their neighbors go through it, so they want that for themselves, but
Yeah.
not realizing the market has shifted. So as soon as we hit that 30-day mark, we are seeing frustration on the seller side. And
But
so my
but
suggestion,
does it mean for the buyer side that they're depreciating the house, that they're depreciating the
no,
home prices?
I don't think so. I think at that point, it really comes down to, what is the actual market value for the home in comparison to everything that has sold, right? So if the home is listed on the market, and yeah, it's been on the market now for 2 months, and it's listed for 500, and everything else in that neighborhood was listed for 475, you're gonna sit there for a while.
Yeah.
But the minute you come down closer to that 475 number, you're gonna pique the interest of that buyer.
But it's also depending on marketing, guys, and that's where as experts
Yes.
will provide you with the right marketing, ninja marketing that we call it, because a lot of the agents won't be able to spend a lot of the money on
Yes.
social media. So reach out to us regarding that. But let's
And
go
I,
ahead and move
and
to
I
the
think
next.
that's another thing, right? Because where we see as a buyer's agent, I see this is you can validate sometimes, the value of the home based on its features and condition. And it really comes down to the marketing of it. I'm sorry to say, because I've seen pictures where I'm just like, did you take this with like your flip phone or your iPhone? Because, dude, it's terrible.
Yeah, yeah. So make sure that you got the right agent interview, and obviously I'm gonna say, raise our hand. So give us a
Yeah.
call. We'll be glad to show you about ninja marketing and how we have sold more than 100 homes. Let's go to the next one, right? Home prices forecast. Home prices forecast for 22. We could see the average from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, CoreLogic, and these are industry leaders that are out there that says, hey, again, we went back from, is it depreciation on the prices? I don't think so because of the recession. I
No.
don't think so because the home prices has increased. And I'm going to give you my personal example. I brought my property for close to 830, and then my neighbor just sold it for 900. I was like, wait, that just happened right, like literally right now.
Yeah.
And why is that happening still? Where buyers are going out, and especially with the well-priced properties, the increase happened within less than a year. So, when you're purchasing a property, remember this, that you're gonna build equity into the property, right? You're paying
Yeah.
down the principal, you're building equity, and here's a home prices forecast, right? The average is still 8.5%. So don't look at this like, oh, the price is gonna drop, because the prices are not dropping to what,
No.
10, 20, 30, 40%. They're not dropping, they're coming to the normalization, because a lot of the times sellers will put a property on the market and they will get multiple offers and that will increase the
Mm-hmm.
price, right? So here that you can see that again, the averages from the leading industry, because we have to look at the leading industry organizations, what they see, the
Yeah.
data that they see, because sometimes we listen to the news and we get this news forecasters, the prices are dropping.
Well,
Well, yeah,
I think, when we're listening to the news, they're talking across the board. They're not just talking real estate specific. Let's be real. They're talking across the board. This is more focused to the niche of real estate, buying and selling homes.
Yep.
And I don't see, like we did in 2007, 2008, 2009, home values depreciating. That happened for a whole different reason. That's not the same scenario that we are in right now. I think the home values are still there. It's just a matter of, being aggressive in terms of your marketing and your pricing to get your property sold for the most amount of money.
Awesome. So this diagram is really, really interesting to me because obviously, as you know, guys, we expanded to North and South and Connecticut, so we
Yes.
get a lot of this data that is out there. And so single family home units, right? And if you start thinking about this, and really start dissecting this and what happened, right? 2007, 8, and 9, there was the average annual unit completed. So these are the homes that are being built. So
Yes.
there was a big, big influx from 90s to 2005 of overbuilding, like too much
Yes.
inventory coming on the
There
market.
was new inventory, right, of new construction, right? But then we did see a huge slowdown after 2007, 2008. Of course, at that point, the recession played a big part, but I think a lot of it had to do with people were just taking it slow, where they wanted to just, hey, you know what? Let me build less.
Yeah, and a
And,
lot of these builders went out of business, right? In 2009,
yeah,
everybody was a builder. Guess what? They went out of business. Why? Because the demand wasn't there, and because of what happened in 2008 and 9, there was an influx of inventory that needed to be completed too as well.
yeah.
So do we see that right now? What do you think is
I
happening?
it's kind of mixed, right? I have a mixed feeling about that because I've been talking to a lot of guys. My husband's in construction. He does commercial down in the city, and I was talking to him about this, and I asked him like, "Hey, what are you seeing?" And he was like, "On the commercial end, there's so much new development happening,
Yeah.
right? And I know that it's a domino effect eventually coming into on the residential side." So, do I think we're going to see a slowdown? Depending on your neighborhood, depending on your market, right? I don't think it's going to be as drastic as it was between '07 and '08, where you
No.
saw that huge dip. There might be like maybe instead of building 100 homes per year, 75,
Well, I mean,
right?
we have different data right here. There's a 1.5 mile from here that somebody's building
Mhm.
500 homes, and the construction is going
There you go.
crazy. And remember this.
Exactly.
Here's a point that I think a lot of people forget. A lot of the big REIT company, the big industrial companies that are out there, they're investing into real estate to buy single family houses at a massive level. I'm talking about
Yes.
billions and billions and billions of dollars that's coming in. Why? Because real estate is the most secure, tangible
Yeah.
investment that you can make. And it's again, they know that they're going to go into appreciation, that they could rent it out right now and they could
Absolutely.
recoup that.
Absolutely. And I think, I don't think we're going to see a crazy slowdown in terms of new development. I think there might be a slight change in it, but it's not going to be a drastic change because the demand is still high for housing.
Right. So
And
let's go to the next one, right? Because this is gonna kind of
yeah,
answer one of your questions, guys. If you're out there, again, data that proven. Because now, why is there, it took a dip of new construction. Now it's kind of scaling up where it's stabilizing. Yeah, it's completing the demand. Well, here's what's gonna really help you out, and this is gonna show you
this is
why
my favorite one. This is my favorite chart because I have been
why there's so much
waiting for this
demand.
one.
Why is there so much demand, right? So as me as a Gen X, I mean, I already brought my house, and yeah, we're gonna maybe upgrade. I don't think so. We are maybe downgrade later on after the kids leave. But what who are actually buying? And Kavita, why don't you speak to this because I think you have more of a knowledge in
Yes.
this section of 60%, 70%. Who's gonna be the first time home buyers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a millennial myself, I'm the older millennial generation. We are the biggest home buyers, percentage of home buyers for the next couple of years. right? And a lot of it has to do is we're, in our late 20s to mid 30s, and we are at a point where we're starting out or we're settled into our careers, and we need a place. Um, and one of the biggest things, and I think you and we spoke about this years ago when I got into real estate, and we always talked about, the changes, the lifestyle changes people go through. And one of the biggest change that I think people are going through right now is the rental price.
Mm.
It is, I mean, I'm just baffled
I mean,
at,
Airbnb, let's talk about, I mean, we don't want to get into that conversation, but let's talk about that. How many people are making double the money on
oh
Airbnb?
my God. But even the rental market, just as an average person to go rent something, you're paying sometimes double the cost of what a mortgage will cost you. And to me, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And I think more and more people, I know my generation and the next generation, which is, the older Gen Z generation that's in their 20s, just getting out of college and getting into careers, we realize this, right? We realize, hey, why am I going to throw money away? Because we're also the generation that said, you know what, screw it, I'm going to move back home with mom and dad,
Yep.
save up my money instead of renting,
Yep.
right, out of college. And I think for us, it's really about how can we be more efficient and make better financial decisions.
Yeah. Yep.
And I've seen this because one of my biggest clientele from day one were people of that I grew up with, right? And in the beginning, when I got into the industry in 2009, 2010, I was a smart one. I got in when everybody else was getting out. And at that time, everybody, they got into the smaller apartments, what they can afford at that point. And now everybody's transitioning into, I'm going to a bigger home.
Yeah, so even the affordability is okay. I can't go buy a 400, 500, 600,000, $700,000 house, but you could start at a co-op. And I think a lot of the clients
Oh, yeah.
before start at the co-op, save the money, appreciation, pay off the loan, take the
And that's the
tax write-off.
beauty, and that's the beauty about living in New York. We have these co-op buildings, right? I think New York is like one of the few states that actually has co-op buildings.
Yep.
And especially when you live closer to the city area, whether it's Westchester County or in any of the boroughs, we have co-ops 10 times more affordable than, a house would be or a condo would be. And it's amazing to start off with that, right? Because you're actually putting it towards something in
You put your
terms of
money
your
to work.
mortgage.
It's like you're
Yeah,
putting
you're
your
putting
money
your
to
money to work. Exactly.
You're putting your money to work, and when you put your money to work, it's always going to appreciate, guys. That's why
Yeah.
billions and billions of dollars are being invested right now in real estate because of the people, the smart people, let's call them that. They understand
Yeah.
that there's always going to be appreciation. You could always rent it out. You could always buy the next first time home down payment buyer, so and get the low interest rate. So this is really
And
powerful. Look at this diagram, understand it, that the buying power, which 60-70% of these people are going to be first time home buyers.
this is gonna be well, according to the source of census, according to them, it's gonna be close to 81%
Wow.
of home buyers, first time home buyers, is gonna be between the age group of 20 to 34, which is the older Gen Z generation and the younger millennial generation.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So this leads me to this diagram is
Oh,
stress properties.
can we
What's
frame this? Can we frame this and like just post it everywhere? Because I
Yeah,
just want
we
to
should.
let
I
people
think I
know.
yeah, take a screenshot and post on the social media and tell you what's happening. National Association of Realtors says that distress sales, foreclosure and short sale represent less than 1% sales in May, okay, 2022. So, and then people will say, well, what about all the delinquents that are happening? I mean, we've seen that for forbearance, right? I mean,
Yes.
we thought that forbearance is going to pull so many people in. Remember, the government already went through this in 2008, 2009. They're not going to go through the same exact
Yeah.
thing. So again, they told the banks to work with someone, right? But even the short sale are so minimum.
I
I think I had one like for the last year, and I used to get 13, 14 short sales and foreclosures. Who's going to buy them up? Listen to what we said
yeah.
before. Those big and
They don't even come on the market. Let's just put it that way. And when we say on the market, we mean, Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, through a realtor, right? Or, where it's accessible to the everyday person. They don't hit the market. Who it goes to are the heavy investors who are
Hedge
buying these
funds.
properties,
The hedge
the
funds.
hedge
I was
funds.
gonna say hedge fund.
Yeah,
I'm trying to use that word.
yeah. Yes, the hedge fund investors groups that buy these properties, as a package deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's who it goes to.
And
And
what do you
and they
think they're
flip
gonna do
it.
with it, Kavita? What do you think they're gonna do with it? I mean, I know the data behind it. What do you think they're gonna do with this whole either
I mean, if
resell
I
it,
if I was if I was them, I would flip it and I would hold on to it.
rent it out?
Rent it out.
There's
Rent it
program
out.
that's going to be out there, rent to option to buy, and I'm pretty sure not a lot in New York, but out of the
Yeah.
states, going to be a bunch of them. So they're going to get the rent from you for the next 2 years, and then add
Hmm.
the option to buy. So again, who's going to get them? Are going to be the hedge funds, the big guys
Yeah.
who are spending billions and billions of dollars. So this allows you to see when people say, "Well, what about the foreclosures? I'm waiting for that distressed property. I haven't seen it." Right?
Hmm.
A lot
I
of the
know.
realtors get into real estate for what reason? I want the first option to get the best deals. Well,
Yeah.
the realtors are going to get the first deal. So I would just want to say that as understanding that the deals are going to be done with the hedge funds. Yes, you might get something that come and trickle in. I'm not saying that, but again, to answer your question, there's going to be a big foreclosure. There's going to be a big short sales. Well, look at this data since 2000 and past the beginning of January 2001. There's less than 1%.
Yeah.
Less than 1%.
And that's huge. That's huge. This is coming from, 2009 going into 2012, where 30-40% of properties that we're selling per year were distressed properties, distressed sales, foreclosures and short sales. I mean, you and I, we both know we process short sales. We worked on foreclosures. We knew that 1 in 3 properties were a foreclosure or a short sale that we sold, right? But then we also saw that declining, right? And I know I had so many buyers ask me, well, what's going to happen? You touched on the forbearance, like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, what's going to happen to all those properties? Well, you fall down once, you make a mistake and you learn from your mistake, right? That's what the banks did. They learned from their mistakes. They
Yep.
weren't going to put themselves in the same situation that they were in. And I think that's what that was the uncertainty that we all had. And I know I had for the longest time. I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. But then when you start reading the market and you start looking and visualizing everything and you sit back and you're like, no, it's moving. Market is moving along.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap this up, guys. Thank you again
Yes.
for watching this video, and we're gonna create more to kind of educate you on what's happening in the marketplace. Gonna kind of answer your questions. If you like, share this video out there. We'll totally appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button, and if you guys have any questions about real estate, being in the business for more than 20 years, we just want to help out. We want to help you get educated and make the best decision of your life. And reciprocity does happen. But hit the link below if you need anything else from us. You'll have the contact information. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
watching,
guys.
and look forward to the next one.